Yes, I'm Valerio Capraro. I'm postdoc at the CWI, it's the Center for Mathematics and Computer Science in Amsterdam. So I'm going to present this paper about how people solve the conflict between cooperation and competition. And in the recent years, people have started investigating this conflict using a dual process perspective. That means this is the main question. Is cooperation intuitive or does it require deliberation? And one of the first and most influential studies about this found that priming people, mainly Americans, to act intuitively has on average a positive effect on cooperation. And in a subsequent work, the same authors plus a few more collaborators proposed to explain these results the so-called social heuristics hypothesis, which assumes that people internalize strategies that are successful in their everyday life and tend to rely on these heuristics as intuitive default responses when facing a new and atypical situation. And then, through additional deliberation, people may override these heuristics and shift behavior towards the one that is optimal in the given situation. Our research project was to test the two predictions of this social heuristics hypothesis. In particular, the social heuristics hypothesis predicts that promoting intuition versus deliberation should have no effect on cooperation among people living in a non-cooperative society and with no experience in economic games on cooperation. This because in this situation, a person would act selfishly both when primed to act intuitively because this person has internalized a non-cooperative strategy, and he would act selfishly also when primed to act deliberately because non-cooperation is optimal in our setting, which is just a one-shot prisoner's dilemma. And the second prediction is that experienced participants may behave differently than inexperienced participants, but if this is the case, the difference should be driven by intuitive responses. This because experienced participants may have developed heuristics due to the experience, but the social heuristics hypothesis assumes that heuristics are developed at the intuitive level and not at the deliberate level. To test these predictions, we needed a non-cooperative society. So it would have been great to run this experiment in some of the remote societies that have been mentioned during these workshops. But with our limited means, the only thing we could do was to use Amazon Mechanical Turk, which is this website that allows you to post experiments in whichever country you want, as long as they have internet connection. And we decided to run the experiment in India. India because, for two reasons. Because of a lot of Amazon Mechanical Turk users are from India, so it's easy to collect data. And second, because previous research has shown that Indians are on average less cooperative than Americans, so they provide a good approximation of a non-cooperative society. The results are in line with the social heuristics hypothesis. So first of all, let me say that we measure cooperative tendencies using one-shot prisoner's dilemma. We forced intuitive responses by putting a 5-second time pressure, and we measure level of experience just by asking participants to tell the extent to which they had already participated in experiments involving exchanging money with anonymous strangers. And so if we look only at experienced participants, we found that there is no statistical difference between cooperation under time pressure and cooperation under time delay, which was one of the predictions of the social heuristics hypothesis. And we found that the inexperienced participants Well, actually, I think I reversed. I'm sorry, this is inexperienced and this is experienced. Oh, shit. So experienced participants are actually more cooperative than inexperienced participants, and the difference is entirely driven by intuitive responses. So in sum, these results are consistent with the social heuristics hypothesis, but they also open the road to some interesting research questions. So what is driving the emergence of cooperation among experienced participants? This is a particularly hard question to answer, and we have some idea, but we still have to investigate these possibilities. Okay, thank you very much.